Everybody wants to land big power shots, but it's not that easy. When throwing with more power, you are also throwing with more telegraph. Today we will discuss the key to consistently land our power shots in hopes to improve our percentages of getting that knockout victory. Vulnerability scanners. A vulnerability scanner is a tool that analyzes computers, networks, or applications to identify potential security weaknesses. You may be asking, what does this have to do with fighting? Well, the key to landing our power shots more consistently is by throwing vulnerability scanners. So in war, the way is to avoid what is strong and to strike what is weak. This quote from the infamous book written by Sun Tzu, The Art of War, makes it clear that finding your opponent's weaknesses and capitalizing on them is of utmost importance. But before capitalizing on our opponent's weaknesses, we have to find them. The primary way of doing this would be through tape study, watching your opponent's previous bouts and seeing potential holes in their game. However, another way of revealing weaknesses can be done within the fight itself, by using vulnerability scanners. A vulnerability scanner can be a feint or an actual attack. Anything that can put your opponent into a defensive reaction can be considered a vulnerability scanner. In the fight this past weekend between Gilbert Burns and Michael Morales, Morales used his lead hand as a vulnerability scanner to set up his power right hand. You see from the beginning of the bout, Morales is throwing his jab. By starting with the jab, Morales can see the reactions that Burns is giving. Burns' reactions were varying, but on 2 occasions he shelled up with a high guard. This is a very common defensive reaction and is especially effective in big glove sports like boxing and kickboxing. Where that defensive reaction falls short in MMA is because of the smaller gloves, punches can slip through and around the guard. When Burns shells up like this, there are openings around and underneath his guard. Burns' shell also offers Morales an extremely important factor in fighting: time. This time allows Morales 3 big benefits: time to observe the openings, time where he isn't in danger, and time to load up on a power shot. The first shot that really wobbled Burns was a rear uppercut. If Morales had just thrown this punch, Burns most likely would have seen it coming. However, Morales sets it up with a vulnerability scanner, a slappy lead hook with no intention of actually landing. The purpose it serves is to both gauge the distance and the defensive reaction. Burns gets into a long guard once shown the lead hand, and there are many strikes that the long guard covers, but there is also many strikes that it does not. Morales finds a long rear uppercut that slides underneath the guard and tags Burns very clean. Morales' accuracy and awareness was very impressive in this bout. Even once he had Gilbert hurt, he was placing his shots where Burns wasn't defending. After Burns threatened some wrestling unsuccessfully, he was instantly met by another big right hand. Yes, this does look like a big looping shot, but it is all set up by the vulnerability scanner Morales throws right before it: the jab. The jab shells Gilbert up in a high guard, but as we were speaking to earlier, the MMA gloves do a poor job of defending the head when compared to kickboxing or boxing gloves. So Morales can wrap a looping, powerful right hand behind the guard of Burns and land very clean. So in summary, if we want to land big power shots without getting countered or just missing completely, we have to first throw vulnerability scanners. Whether it be feints or strikes, we have to first observe where the opponent's weaknesses are in their defense, and from there, we can put them in that defensive state and give ourselves time to land big power shots to their exposed areas.